Hey everyone, I'm Keenan. I'm the program manager at Explore Austin, and this week for the Fresh Air Challenge, I'm going to be teaching a class on tying knots. And if y'all are in our program, you might be familiar with a couple knots that you learned from our rock climbing. But this week, I chose to focus on knots that aren't necessarily just for climbing. I wanted to teach y'all some things that you might find useful around the house or for various applications, since I know a lot of us aren't necessarily getting out on the rock walls right now. So I'm gonna just focus on 3 knots in particular. I'm gonna teach y'all the stopper knot, also known as a barrel knot. I'm gonna teach the bowline, and I'm going to teach the trucker's hitch. But before we get started, let me show you what you'll need. Basically, the ideal would be a length of rope about this long. Should be enough. I'd say at least this long. It can be longer if you want, but it doesn't just have to be kind of thick old rope like this. Piece of cordlette will work too, so this is a little bit thinner. This is parachute cord. This will work just fine. Even like an old shoestring, if you have something laying around, or a piece of string, anything will help you or allow you to kind of practice these knots. So yeah, let's get started. So like I said earlier, I want to focus on some knots that you might find useful for some of your own projects. And I wanted to show you one of my projects from a couple years ago. I actually built this swing in my backyard, and it really just uses 2 kinds of knots, both of which I'm going to teach you here. So at the bottom, to kind of secure the board to these ropes, I'm using a stopper knot. You can see them right here. And then up at the top, which I'll show you, I've secured it to the top of the tree with bowlines. And once I show you these knots, we're actually going to make a little miniature swing of our own to show you how all this fits together. So we're going to start with our stopper knot, and in a climbing context, we use this knot to prevent the rope from potentially passing through a belay device. Here we're using it for something kind of similar. We're going to use it to prevent the rope from passing through these little holes that we've drilled in our seat here. So I'm going to show you real quick how this goes, and then we're going to slow it down, and I'll show you on one of the kind of bigger ropes. So that's our stopper knot. I'm gonna pull it here, and our board's just gonna kind of sit on it like that, okay? So to give you all a closer look at that stopper knot, what we're gonna do to tie it is we're gonna actually wrap this around our hand. So we're gonna take the end of the rope, wrap it once around the top of our hand. We're gonna wrap it again and cross it so that it forms an X right there. And then I'm gonna bring it all the way around to here and just pass that end under, right under the X there. If I pull that tight, you'll know you've tied it correctly when you can see that really distinctive X on one side, and you'll see parallel lines on the other side. So we've used our stopper knots to secure our board here, but how are we actually going to attach this to the top of the tree there? So the bowline is useful for whenever we want to secure our rope to something or tie it around something. So in this case, I want to tie my rope around this metal pole here. I'm gonna just kind of use this to demonstrate how you tie the bowline. Sometimes when I'm remembering how to tie a knot, I like to tell a little story, and it's sort of a mnemonic to help me remember. So in this case, our story involves this little loop of rope on one side. So we're gonna imagine that this is a hole. We're gonna imagine that this strand is a tree, right? And it's coming out of the ground there. And then we're gonna imagine that this strand on the other side of our pole is a rabbit. So the rabbit, in this case, is gonna come out of the hole. It's gonna hop around the tree, and then it's gonna go back into the hole. And if we pull that tight, then we've got a really secure connection to our pole there. If we were using this knot in a rock climbing context, and we were, say, making an anchor out of it, we would also want to add just a little overhand knot on the back side. That makes it a little safer, a little more secure, a little less likely to slip. So in case you missed it just then, you're gonna get another chance to see this bowline when I actually attach my swing to the branches of our tree here. So again, this is the free end. We're gonna make our little loop. We've got our tree, and our bunny comes out of the hole, hops around the tree, hops around the tree, goes back in the hole there. Same thing on the other side. Got our hole, got our bunny, hops around the tree, back in the hole. And now, it's a little lopsided, but we've got our swing. And remember, the swing's just, you know, sort of an example to teach you some of the applications of these knots. These bowlines at the top are whenever you want to secure your rope to something, and these stopper knots keep the rope from passing through something like a hole here, or if we were climbing, they would keep it from potentially passing through our belay device. The last knot I want to demonstrate is the trucker's hitch, and this is useful really for whenever you want to get a rope taut, so when you want to kind of tighten it over something. And one of the most common applications, the thing I use it for the most, would be something like strapping a boat to the top of your car. So this is a kayak. This is actually the exact kind of kayak that you can rent from Explore Austin right now. So if you're interested in taking it out on the lake or something, then go ahead and rent one for free from us. But I just want to show you, if I were strapping this to the top of my car, we're going to pretend that this table is like my roof rack. I want to show you how to use a trucker's hitch to do that. First thing we're going to do is take our rope and we're going to actually secure it on one side. So which knot do we use when we need to secure a rope to something? We're going to use that bowline that we learned earlier. So that's what I'm going to do first. All right, now we're gonna flip it over the top, and I'm gonna bring you in a little bit closer so you can get a better view when I actually tie it. So there's actually two parts to this knot. The first part is we wanna just make a loop in the rope up here. And there are a couple different ways to do this. I think the easiest way is to just do an overhand on a bite. So we're gonna take a loop of rope here and we're just gonna wrap it around itself and stick it through. You can also use like a slip knot here. If you know Alpine Butterfly, you can use that as well. And I'm gonna move this a little bit higher up actually. So it sits, let's see. About there. Let's move it a little higher. All right. Now I'm gonna take the end and I'm passing the end around the bench down here. Just whatever point you're using to kind of secure it to. You'll pass it through or around that. And then I'm taking the other end back up. And in this case, I know I might have some kind of excess rope left over, so I'm just gonna pull a loop of rope through here. So I'm gonna pass this loop through the loop that I created up here. And now this is kind of where the tensioning comes in. I'm gonna be able to now pull this tight, and you can see that the rope's kind of stretching. I'm getting it really pretty tight. So I'm pulling it down. And then right here, I've got it through the loop, And to secure it and keep it there, I'm gonna do a couple things. I'm gonna first just tie what we call a half hitch. So pass it through itself like that. And then to finish it off, we call an overhand on a bite. So just kind of the simplest knot. I'm gonna go around here, and then I'm gonna go back through, just like that. Tighten it up close. So this way, it's not gonna slip, it's not going anywhere, and you can see this is pretty dang tight, right? The boat's not gonna move much. If I were strapping this to my car, I would do it once at the top and then do another one down at the bottom end of the boat. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. I'm gonna drop a couple of links in the description that are from animatedknots.com, where you can kind of follow along if you need to slow it down a little bit or see a better view. Then you can use that too. But yeah, try it out, tie some knots, and post on Blippic so you can get those sunshine points. All right, thanks y'all.